Good evening, kids. Welcome back to the chess lesson. Today, we're going to study London system and the Rook Endgame. This is a brand new game that just happened between world champion Magnus Carlsen and Alireza, top grandmasters. And we're going to learn a little bit the opening because I know so many children are playing London system. Look, this is what happened. D4, knight f6, bishop f4, and this is called in chess London system. So the idea is to position the pawns on c3, d4, e3, and it's very, very powerful pawn structure in the center. It's easy to learn this system. You can play against any opening, and if you are preparing for a chess tournaments, it's really nice way to do well in the chess tournaments. Knight c6, knight e2. Pay attention to the move order here. Bishop to d3. Look how Magnus Carlsen is not developing the knight to f3, and this is going to be very important. So check it out if you like this idea. Bishop d6, and you know how usually you move bishop to g3 in those kind of positions, but look how Magnus plays here. He takes, and then he plays pawn to f4. So now what do we have? We have a pawn structure that is called stone wall, but there is no bishop on c1, right? Usually that bishop on c1 in a stone wall is very bad. Right. And Magnus used to play this when he was younger with the black side, like a Dutch defense, stone wall. So he's very familiar with those positions. He knows very well what to do here. C takes on d4 and c takes on d4, because otherwise this pawn on f4 would be free. Now, what is the idea of this pawn structure? Look at the space e5. That's really an important outpost for a white knight. Castling, knight f3, b6, a3, a5, queen e2. Well, queen e2 is an interesting move because it doesn't allow a bishop to get into the game, right? And that bishop is quite bad. It reminds me on those bishops in French defense. It is very bad bishop. Bishop goes to b7, castling. That's what you need to remember. See if you like it. You can go through this position one more time by yourself. If you like it, you can play in your own games. Knight e7, rook c1. Magnus is overtaking the c file. Rook c8, and this is the moment when Magnus played a new move. Before, people played knight b3 in this position. There is one game with a knight b3, but Magnus plays the move g4, and that's a novelty, a new move in this position. The idea of g4 is to attack on the king side, and of course taking on g4 would be risky because white can take on h7 and then play knight g5 check and take on g4, and the king is weak because there's no pawn on h7. There is a good chance that white can attack successfully here in this position, and bishop is very bad on b7. So that's what would happen, right, if you take that pawn. Alireza plays move knight e4. Okay, that makes sense because the knight on e4 is protected by the bishop and the pawn, and it's a great outpost for a knight. But look at this next move, how Magnus plays this strategy. Fantastic, knight g5. What a move. Magnus can play those moves. Difficult for a regular players to understand a move like this. but Magnus is so good with strategies. He just knows this kind of stuff so well. Knight goes to g5, and he takes with f pawn. Now the outcome here is the rook is open, and that f file is very important. Now c file is also very important, right? So whoever gets control over those files could win the game. Now rook c1, rook c1. Okay, so now at the moment white has a control. Knight c6. Magnus plays bishop a6. Again, difficult move to play. Like I said, this bishop on b7 is a bad piece. And you may ask yourself, what's the reason Magnus is trading that piece? Right? Because bishop on d3 is so powerful. Right? Look, targeting the pawn on h7. But still, Magnus plays bishop a6. And that's what we can learn from a world champion. Now, I will explain you why. Because with a bishop a6, Magnus is now overtaking the c file. Look, the queen becomes very active, and the c file is under white control. And that's why. So those transitions are the most difficult in chess. And very strong players understand those kind of transitions, trading the pieces. Knight e7, and now knight f3, knight g6, queen b7. Excellent move, queen b7. Queen is very active on b7, and it is supporting the rook. So now rook comes into the game. Rook c6, pawn takes, d4, and of course Alireza is trying to open up the game. Right? That's what he wants, but Magnus doesn't allow it. Rook d6, and after this move, Magnus takes a pawn on b6. Well, you would think maybe taking like with this pawn, but then black can create activity. Look, move like queen a4. The check on d1. Right, something could happen here. Right, so that's Magnus doesn't allow any kind of activity. So he plays queen b6, and here after knight e5 we have an endgame. Well, at the moment we have an endgame with a queen on the board, but it's going to be transitioned into the Rook endgame, and that was the focus of our study here. King f2, f5. It was better to play queen b8. That move is stronger. f5, and Magnus plays g5, f4. Alireza is trying to open up the game, but Magnus, now look at this, very nice, very important. He's trading the queen because he cannot allow any kind of attack on the king. So when you are facing attack, trade especially the queen. And now we have the rook endgame. White is a pawn up, and of course the question is, can white win the game? Well, pawn on g5 is excellent because it's blocking two pawns, g7 and h7. Also on the queen side, this pawn on a5 is weak. Right? So look what happened in the game. Now rook d2, of course, it would be a draw if you take on a5 and rook b2, rook b3, and here h4, king h5. It seems so that's the mistake. King c2, rook h3, and now rook d7. Active move with a rook. That's what matters when you play rook endgames. Like, you don't want to stay here and defend yourself, but activity is very important. Rook d7, king goes to g6, rook d4, and rook a4. Again, another active move. G6, the mistake. Rook a5 and king h4. So now what do we have? we have 2 extra pawns on the queen side. Connected pawns are very strong in the rook endgames. Also, this pawn on g5, look how great it is, because it doesn't allow black to push pawn on h7. And after b4, now those 2 pawns are marching forward. So when you have a 2 connecting pawns, just push them forward. Look, they just move forward. h5 takes, right? And just push those pawns, right? They are connected, they support each other, and that's what's important in rook endgames. Here, Alireza resigned the game, but there's no move. If he plays rook h8, rook to c8, and then the next move is queen with a check, and white is winning the game. If you want to practice this endgame, I would suggest set up the position in the chess.com and play. Now let me find the position you should copy. This one here. So this is the position you can copy with and put it into the chess.com in analysis board and play against the engines. You can play with the white side and try to win the game, right? If you want to go even a little bit further, right, you could try this position here after rook a4. Here white is clearly winning, but you can practice, how to push the pawns forward. If you can win this position, then when you go to chess tournaments, for sure you are going to be winning against children, right? That's what you can do. Now, when we go back to the opening, try to remember this idea of delaying the pawn, the knight to f3, so that you can play f4. Very cool idea, right? You can, maybe that's a little bit refreshment for your London system, and you can play this in your own games. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the lesson, and see you again tomorrow. Bye bye.